services out for a fair and open bid process. I understand the reason for the MOU when MRS existed. That's really all that was needed. I've said it before here, and I'll say it again. John Redden and the team that was MRS spoiled the residents of Millville and the outlying areas, down township, Morris River Township, everywhere, because of what they gave us. Great, dependable service. MRS became what it was thanks to dedicated volunteers, residents, and businesses in Millville. Yes, time caught up with them. The MRS that we knew faced issues and was absorbed by Inspire. Now here we are, Inspire owns MRS. Great, that's business. They had the transport business, which is exactly that, a business. Transports are scheduled and run as a routine, everyday, normal job. But we're talking about emergency services now. Two totally different things. I brought up at the last meeting the subscription service that many residents depended on. Still, there's no answer to that. Hopefully there'll be some tonight. Maybe that's added. The only answer we received from Mr. Redden last year was that will be a decision that Inspire has to make. It really comes down to this. Again, I ask why no bid process? Inspire is not the local, loyal service that we all knew as Millville Rescue Squad. Other hospital systems that run EMS services do so. And these are local hospital systems at a $0 amount to the communities that they serve. Because billables, why is this? Because the billables that they do, and Inspire will do also, are enormous. There's no loss with the amounts that are billed, either through insurance companies or direct pay. Yes, I know about the uninsured. Well, you probably won't be told about the enormous fund that Inspire has, supplied by the state, to recoup payment for unpaid bills. It's called charity care. Charity care is available to a big majority of people in Cumberland County. They own the rigs now. They'll be able to incorporate the rigs and the runs into charity care. They'll get paid. I was just in the hospital 2 weeks ago. I have great insurance, thankfully. I have 2 policies. The first thing the insurance lady said to me is, you're on Medicare. You can go downstairs once you get out of the hospital and recuperate, and they'll give you charity care for the portion that's not paid by Medicare. And I just looked at her and I said, is this just a normal thing you tell everybody in this hospital? I said, because I just gave you my insurance policy. You know I have insurance that'll pay everything. Oh, but we have to do this because we're required to. Yeah, okay. I realize that. Rest assured, the charity care fund provided by the state of New Jersey to Inspire alone is huge. They got to use it. It's a budget item. They got to use it or they lose it. They need to improve it every single year. They won't be losing money. Maybe Mr. Schroeder, as the solicitor, he has served a lot of municipalities. I think he's probably been across this a few times with ambulance services. Maybe, between now and whenever an agreement or a bid goes out, maybe you have some information that you could offer to the commissioners that could help them with this decision. Now let me ask you, the commissioners, what does that $105,000 guarantee the city of Millville? Has it been put down in print? $105,000 is a lot to the normal working person, like 99% of all the people in this room. Commissioners, that $105,000 is 3 more new officers for the police department. That's what it is. Commissioner Pepitone, wouldn't you really like to walk up to the chief and say, hire 3 new recruits because I got this money for you?
Mr. Ewell, you have a minute left.
Thank you. That dollar figure will be there and most likely raised when you redo the next MOU. We are not in a situation any longer where an MOU is satisfactory for the residents of Millville. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Seeing no one else, I close the public comment on agenda items only. We have a couple presentations, just one presentation.
Yeah, we have a presentation for a tobacco-free for Healthy New Jersey, and I would like to call up Kim Burns, Donald Noblet, and Chelsea Santiago.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Need all three, if not, just whatever you need up there, grab them.
Thank you so much for welcoming us. My name is Donald Noblet. I am a Millville resident and an employee of the Southwest Council. I'm representing here a few groups together that are working on initiatives to make healthier communities for our youth. One of them being our substance abuse coalitions at the Southwest Council. I'm the Scratch Coalition Coordinator that covers Salem and Cumberland counties. And we also have Cumberland County Healthy Communities Coalition, which specifically covers Cumberland. And that group is committed to reducing youth substance rates. And then we're also bringing this initiative specifically to the Cumberland County Positive Youth Development Coalition's Millville Breakout Group, which is committed to reducing juvenile delinquency. We also have community partners. Anyone with a pin that we're sporting is helping introduce this tonight. So we're here. I'd like to kind of share a few quick stats from kind of the national level, bringing it in locally. So nationally, the issue of tobacco use negatively impacts health, including addiction. Annually, according to the American Lung Association, secondhand smoke leads to 41,000 deaths a year. To bring that into our state and our county, Cumberland County has the highest adult tobacco use rate of 20% out of all of our 21 counties. And then if we can show this off here. This is just a sample of collected cigarette butts from Corson Park. This was just a small piece of an entire kitchen-sized trash bag that was collected over 1 hour's time by 12 youth last year with Emma Lopez from the Vineland Health Department. So it's something that's tangibly something we're seeing here locally outside in our spaces where our kids go to play and our families, go to work out. So it's something that we're seeing as an issue here. So I want to make sure that we're understanding kind of the collective effort that outdoor recreation ordinances, which we'll share in a moment, can impact our juvenile delinquency most likely, as well as reducing tobacco use rates. So kind of overall wellness for our community. So we're excited to be here. Thank you, commissioners, for welcoming us. Next, I'll bring up Kim Burns from Tobacco Free for a Healthy New Jersey.
Good evening, everyone. So again, thank you so much for allowing us to come in and present. We would love to just give you some more education. I'm going to make mine quick because we have some very important individuals that we want you to hear from. So I work on a grant that's called Tobacco Free for a Healthy New Jersey. We cover the entire state of New Jersey, just dealing with different tobacco issues. So if somebody wants to quit or, a municipality needs help passing an ordinance, there's a variety of things that we do. So I just want to refer to the packet that we handed out to you. So in the packet, we were able to, the first page, or the second page is we went to every tobacco retailer in Millville. There were 27 of them. And we just surveyed what type of products that they had in there, because there are some products that are really appealing to our youth. So we thought that was really important to put in there, like flavored products. We're seeing a lot of that happening, and the whole design of those is really to reach out to our youth. They do ice cream flavors and fruit flavors and things like that. So this just gives you a snapshot of what's going on in your town. And we do this, whenever we go into a town. Just of note, there are 4 of those tobacco retailers that are within walking distance of a school. So that makes us concerned about advertising, things like that. So that's just for your information. The second page in there is just a map of Cumberland County. Currently, Cumberland County has 5 municipalities that have passed some type of outdoor recreational ordinance. And they vary from town to town because each town is so different. So again, that just gives you a snapshot of what's going on in your county. I did include an ordinance from Vineland. Theirs is pretty comprehensive. And Donald talked about Emma Lopez. She was the one that spearheaded that through the health department in Vineland. And then I also included frequently asked questions. These are questions that when we go and we present to a council or commissioners, things that were normally asked, like about enforcement and things like that. So hopefully that document will answer some of the questions that you have. And the last page in there is just, we are able to offer through our Tobacco Free for Healthy New Jersey grant free signage. So if Millville was to pass an outdoor recreational ordinance, we could provide these signs free. We personalize them for Millville. They have your ordinance number on them, as many as are needed to adequately cover, whatever areas you decide to choose. Okay? So I want to introduce some students that are going to speak briefly about their own personal experience and how they feel about smoking or how it's impacted their lives. These are students that are students at your Millville High School, and they're involved in the LINK program. So, okay.
Good evening. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me. It means so much. My name is Jared Kinlaw, and I'm a sophomore at Memorial High School. I'm here tonight to discuss my passion for passing the smoke ordinance. I'm passionate about this because I recently lost my grandmother to stage 4 lung cancer. My grandmother was my best friend, and seeing her suffering was heartbreaking to me and my family. I believe passing the smoking ordinance could encourage people to stop smoking, and it could also benefit others who visit the areas. I often go to the parks in Millville and see and smell people smoking. I would love to see this change and go to the park without having to smell smoke, and I would hate to see other families go through the same things that I had to with my own grandmother. And it is time to make a change. Thank you for allowing me to come here today to speak and about this issue. That means a lot to me.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brianna Messier, and I live at 7 Burger Court near the Child Family Center. I am a junior at Millville Senior High School, and like Jared, I too lost my grandmother to lung cancer. Both of my parents have severe health complications came along with smoking from a young age, even as young as the age of 14. They range from breathing complications such as weak lungs or asthma, and severe heart conditions like my father, who has AFib and has had numerous heart surgeries in the recent past. Like the 8% of children with respiratory issues, I have a difficult time breathing, such as in the cold weather or even just walking up and down stairs. So especially when I'm caught off guard walking to Bogart's or walking home or walking anywhere, and I smell the smoke coming, I double down and I have a hard time breathing. I believe that as soon as children grow up seeing not only their parents smoking, but other adults around them, they are raised to the doctrine that smoking is something that everyone does without repercussions, despite having knowledge of the negative effects smoking has on people later on down the road. They know what can happen, but they don't think it will ever happen to them. Passing this ordinance will be a step closer to a cleaner Millville, and hopefully a better environment for our children. I think the most important areas that should be smoke-free are parks, recreational centers, or any places that children and teens are more likely to visit, such as sports fields. We are constantly told that we are the generation of change, and that it is our job to forge our futures. Why should we stop at the future of our own? Why can't we pave a path of security for others along the way? I am a part of this said generation, and I am not throwing away my shot. Please, commissioners, consider passing this ordinance to make Millville a safe and smoke-free city. I would like to thank you all for listening. So
again, we just want to thank you for the opportunity to come and speak. for me, my background is definitely working with youth. They're my passion, they're my love, and changing what we've talked to them about is changing something like this can change the lives of thousands of people to come. So that's why we thought it was important to bring them so that you could hear from them. So thank you so much, and I guess, do I ask if there's any questions or
Questions?
questions?
Once you sit down, I'm
Okay.
sure the commissioners will have a comment, but thank you. Thank you so much. Let's give them another round of applause. First of all, to the two Link students, and I know there's 3 others here, right? Raise your hands. I congratulate you, not only just for being here, but for your other students getting up there and telling us about your story, which means a lot to this commission. I can tell you that not being a smoker, I don't think any of the commissioners, let's see if they'll admit this, I've never seen any of you smoke a cigarette. And I think you're on the right path. Our air is already polluted. Why not stop some additional pollution into the air so that we can, breathe a little bit better? So as soon as this goes through us, you got my vote. Any other commissioners?
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
It appears that Violent has an ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
What have you seen different since they initiated that ordinance?
I would have
Do you have
to
any
check with the
stats
health
on that?
department, but as you can see, theirs is quite comprehensive.
Mhm.
I think it involved 27 properties. So I know initially it was difficult. It was a big change for them.
Correct.
But I don't think that they've had an issue with it. They've had it, I think, maybe 2 to 3 years. So I don't think that there was, once everybody got used to it, knew where the non-smoking areas were, I think they were okay with it. And we provided a lot of signage for them.
So, commissioners, if I can make a comment, we've met maybe a month or so ago, and after this meeting, I was asked by several employees what were they here for, and I said it was about smoke-free. And believe it or not, some of those employees are not smoking in front of the building any longer. They've moved down away from the front of the building, which I congratulate them, and I give them a great handshake, because that's awesome. They knew that my idea was, let's make this a smoke-free. If we don't start at City Hall, then what example are we setting for the young people like these students in front of us? So I think we need to start in this building first with those signage and move from there. And I think we would be the perfect example to start this.
Yeah, I don't think you'll get any pushback from any of the commissioners on that. I mean, we need to be the change that we want to see
Absolutely.
in the world. So,
Anyone else?
I
Yeah, I'd
appreciate
like to
you
add
guys coming
something.
out.
As an educator for more than 30 years, it's great to see students come up and speak about their issues so clearly. And it's great to see you guys get involved. Never stop getting involved. Realize that you guys are going to be the change agents of the future. So find your passion, get involved, and keep backing it up. And this is a great opportunity, for you guys to present to us. And we're grateful for all that you do. Thank you so much.
Good job, guys. It's amazing, what young people have to offer our city. We appreciate the work that you young people are doing. Also, your superintendent of schools, Mr. Gentile. We go back just a couple years, but to see what's happening in our school system, not only at the Memorial or the senior high school, but what we do at Lakeside Middle School. There's a lot of people, a lot of young people being involved in the city. There's a lot of volunteers working with our youth in the city, and it's a pleasure to see more and more activities by the schools themselves, and the direction from the Board of Education, which we're partnerships with. We're all in this together. But I want to commend the young people. Stand up, talk, let us know. You're absolutely right. This is your future right here. Someday you'll be the leaders, we hope, in the city. Don't stop. Don't stop by sharing. Don't stop by working hard in your community. Okay, we really, really appreciate it. So again, thank you very much for what you're doing.
if I may, Jared and Brianna, I would love to commend you for your efforts. You articulated all of your ideas so clearly and so eloquently, and you can tell that that message came from the heart. And one of the number one reasons to champion a cause is to know that that's your platform and that's your purpose in being a leader. So I would just like to commend you and encourage you going forth that with whichever cause it is that you feel warrants your interest, keep the same confidence, the same articulation that you did this evening, because you did a fabulous job, and thank you for presenting that to us this evening.
Good job, kids.
Hopefully the next meeting you come at is because we're passing an ordinance. How's that? I'm not putting any pressure on anybody. Okay? So maybe we'll move forward. And thank you, Dr. Gentile, who's here representing you as your school superintendent. I think he deserves a round of applause because you mean something to him. Anyone else?
Just incidentally, the park that you got those the cigarettes from, that wasn't in Millville, right? It wasn't Millville Park, right? It's Corson?
Yeah.
Corson Park. Yeah.
Why I order. Okay. Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
All right. We have under old business, moving on, right? We have Chief Redden here to discuss the MOU 911 services MOU.
Yeah, you want to let the students go?
Yeah, if you would like to leave, students from the school and Link and
School tomorrow.
the adults have to stay though. No, only kidding. Only kidding. Have a good evening. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, guys.
See you.
Thanks, Doc.
Take care of that ankle.
While they're leaving, Mr. Mayor, if the commission wants to identify some areas where they want to see smoke-free,
Sure.
we can prepare that ordinance and start. If you want to start with, obviously, City Hall and maybe a few other areas, and then we can expand as we go. Or if you want to do a comprehensive thing, I just need to know from you all where you would like to do that, and we'll begin to put that in motion.
You'll have it by the end of the week, Mr.
All right.
Solicitor.
Definitely Corson Park.
Yeah. City Hall first.
City Hall first, though.
And Corson Park.
There you go.
Chief, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm John Redden, former chief and CEO of Millville Rescue Squad, and currently proud employee of Inspira Health Network.
You'll still be the chief.
That's my
in
nickname.
my
forever,
eyes.
Yeah. That's all right. It's not. I've had worse nicknames. And I thank Mr. Hewitt for the kind comments that he had to say about Millville Rescue Squad. I think our industry uses a lot of acronyms, and it's a complicated machine. I know I've been to these meetings before, and I start talking about hybrid systems and fluid response strategy and static deployment and all that stuff. And to me, it's what we do. But I put together a presentation. It's only maybe 10 slides to try to help enlighten. That's a good word. Thanks. Enlighten the commissioners on what an EMS model system looks like. So I call it Introduction to the EMS Business Models. So the first thing, some of the acronyms we use. IHOP is not only a pancake house, it also stands for Inter-Hospital Outpatient Transportation. 911 dispatches, we refer to them as EMS. BLS means basic life support, which is going to be your caregiver is going to be an emergency medical technician. Advanced life support, your clinician is going to be a certified paramedic. Static deployment would be where the ambulance resources are only dedicated to either EMS or IHOP. Hybrid deployment would be any ambulance that's in service is flexible to do either a 911 EMS or an inter-facility transport. And life threats are defined by the New Jersey Office of Emergency Medical Services as a medical condition potentially requiring ALS level of care, which would be paramedics or above. Response times. We live by response times, and there's a lot of them. But the ones that are most important from the beginning of the call is the response. The response time is the length of time from when EMS is dispatched to the time we arrive on location of the incident. That's the most important time. Then the second most important time is the on-scene time. How long were we at that location before we could treat the patient, prepare them for transport, and get them moving toward the hospital? The travel time is the length of time it takes us to get to the hospital, and the turnaround time is when can that resource, that ambulance, be available to take the next emergency. A static deployment model, only the ambulance resources assigned solely to EMS will respond to a 911 dispatch, and they do that from a fixed location. Ambulances assigned to interfacility transports can only perform interfacility and non-emergency transports. Fluid deployment model, which is what Millville Rescue Squad uses and Inspira now uses, is that any activated ambulance can be directed to a 911 dispatch regardless of their primary assignment based on their availability and their proximity to the 911 incident location from a soft post. I didn't give you a definition of a soft post. Our only hard post is 600 Cedar Street. But what we call soft posts, we have identified about 11 soft posts, most of them of which are super Wawas. Right? If we have 4 ambulances available or 5 ambulances available at any given time, rather than post at 600 Cedar Street, why not put them around on the east side of town, north side of town, the south side of town? So when you see a lot of our ambulances at the Wawa, it's not that they're on break, that's their soft post. So I wanted to describe.
I always thought it was free coffee.
Well, there is coffee, there's restroom facilities, there's snacks, and they don't mind us being there. There's basically, in New Jersey, there are basically 4 business models, 4 EMS models. You're either going to have municipal-based, hospital-based, private for-profit, or private not-for-profit. A common model in other states is what they call a PUM, a public utility model, and EMS districts. That's very similar to a fire district. New Jersey, they're not legislatively permitted in New Jersey. You know, if New Jersey were to have a PUM, it would be similar to a fire district. They become a taxing entity, not an option. Yes, Jim?
Question: were we originally a private non-for-profit?
We were.
Okay.
Millville Rescue Squad is a private not-for-profit.
And now we're moving to the one above that, hospital-based?
Hospital-based, that's correct.
Thank you.
Yep. So let's talk about the advantages and the disadvantages. The advantages of a municipal base is that the full risk is managed by the government and government controls. This commission has full control. Government can choose to allocate and fund ambulance resources to meet their demands, however many they need. You put them on, it becomes taxpayer funded, for the amount not covered by reimbursement. And government-based systems can maintain stability. The disadvantages is based on the levels of allocation, the system can be highly taxpayer subsidized. I can tell you that some numbers, if you do the research, some of the fully municipal-based services are subsidized to the tune of millions of dollars. Liabilities are the full responsibility of the municipality, definitely a disadvantage. Municipal staffing expenses are more costly. Static deployment does not allow for fluid response capability. All your municipal systems are statically deployed. Mutual aid is the only contingency when you hit peak demands. So if you have determined to have 2 ambulances on at any given time, and you go 3, 4, and 5 deep, mutual aid is the only contingency. And they only do BLS service only. They do not do paramedic service. Private for-profit, the advantages is that the bidding process can secure cost-effective services, for sure. Limited liability to the government, and government controls can be via contractual terms. The disadvantage is that her primary mission is profit. The quality of the service can be unpredictable. They have limited backup contingencies for peak demand influxes. The stability of the provider cannot be assured, especially if they're providing service in an area that's not subsidized to the right levels. There's limited fail-safe provisions. They're not always community supported. They don't always hire from the community. And they are also BLS service levels only. Hospital-based, which is what Millville has at the very moment. They're cost-effective with minimal taxpayer subsidy. The organizations are financially secure. They have limited liability to the municipality. They're community-based and generally community-supported. I can say that Inspira is very community-supportive in the area. They have a vested interest in quality pre-hospital care. Good clinical practices, out in the field make a difference in final outcomes at the hospital. So they're big on training. I can testify to that. They're mission-driven for positive outcomes. They're flexible to a hybrid system, and they can use a fluid response strategy. So if they have 12 or 14 ambulances activated, any one of those ambulances could be redirected to a life-threatening emergency if they had to. And hospitals are dual providers of both BLS and ALS services. They have extensive training systems and a very extensive QA process. Every call is reviewed by a committee to make sure that everything was done properly. The disadvantages are that a hospital system is not eligible for federal grant dollars for EMS equipment or training, and they have limited ability to subsidize services other than billing or contractual agreements. Then the private nonprofit, which was what Millville had for the 50 plus years prior, they're cost effective with no or limited taxpayer subsidy. There's no or limited liability to the municipality, mission driven for community services. Generally, they're community-based and they're generally community-supported, and they're not restricted to doing just a static deployment model. The disadvantages, internal funding challenges through limited subsidies, the organization's stability cannot be assured, there's limited government controls, and they are also BLS service only. So the 911 service cost assessment. To determine the levels of reimbursement used to offset any taxpayer subsidy or net operating loss, the following factors are what's taken into consideration. What is the total billable call volume? Number two, what is the payer mix and the levels of reimbursement that you're going to get? And number three, what is the turnaround time? I know some of the public has eluded many times. They use the example of our neighbor in Atlantic City. To compare Atlantic City to Millville, there's a huge difference. Atlantic City does get their EMS service at zero subsidy. But if you take this formula, let's talk about they have 40,000 year-round residents, which may or may not have a desirable payer mix. They have 27 million visitors annually that I assure you have a very desirable payer mix. That creates a very high call volume, so the call volume is high. When you talk about turnaround time, there are 10 square miles of land, and they have a level 2 trauma center in the middle of a 7-mile island. Turnaround time. So when you take that formula and you say high call volume, desirable payer mix, and rapid turnaround time when in 8 to 10 minutes the ambulance can be ready to take the next call, that makes money. Maybe if we've been on Atlantic City before, and maybe if we got on Atlantic City, maybe we could fund 20 or 25 officers for you. But Millville has medium to low call volume, 4,000 billable trips a year. We have an undesirable payer mix. We have a high level of Medicaid, uninsured, underinsured, and the average turnaround time from the time the ambulance is committed to their first call before they're available, the next one is 42 minutes because of our geographics, the distances to the hospital. So that takes into account, just to put to rest the concept of Atlantic City, zero subsidy, Millville. I just went ahead now, sorry. I just said that. So let's summarize it. A cost-benefit analysis shows that municipal services tend to be more expensive and not able to cover the expenses with the revenue. Private for-profit services are often of low quality and poor service. Private not-for-profit services often lack the fiscal resources to survive today's changing healthcare market. Hospital-based services have the depth and breadth of a network to ensure fiscal survivability, provide high-quality patient care, ensure employee retention with education and benefits, and overall maintain strong community partnerships. What does the opportunity that our city has? The residents of the city of Millville have had a unique opportunity for many years. Through the development of a hybrid system by Millville Rescue Squad, the city has been fortunate to experience the many advantages of EMS being provided via a fluid response strategy through a hybrid system. Through the negotiation process of the Inspira transaction, the Millville Rescue Squad's board of directors assured that Inspira agreed to continue to provide 911 service to our community. There was no pushback from Inspira to this request as they maintain their strong focus on patient care. Embracing this offer from Inspira will assure continued service to the community in a cost-effective manner that only a hybrid system can provide. I think the dilemma or the question that you're being asked is to put out an RFP, put out a bid. And you certainly can do that. That's a decision you have to make. History shows that when you put out a bid, there will probably be somebody out there that will bid $0. There probably will be. I mean, it's a tough market right now. And when they do that, they're not going to know what the payer mix and what the revenue that is generated through the 911 service is. And the question you have to ask is, are they going to do it for 6 months and then go bankrupt, or do it for a year and then pull out? And then you're going to change providers every so often. There was some information posted about Shore Memorial Hospital in the areas of Linwood and Northfield and the subsidies there. Shore Memorial Hospital used to have their own ambulance service, and they got out of the business because they were bleeding money. Since they got out of the business a few years ago, then Atlantic Care came in and did it. They're gone. They left. Probably weren't making any money. Gem Ambulance came in and did it after them, and now currently TRICARE Ambulance is doing it then, and I don't know what their status is. So it's risky ground to take a system that is providing good service, agrees to continue to provide the service, agrees to report to this commission our response time standards. I just think it's risky ground, but that's a decision that you guys have to wrestle with.
Thank you.
Mr. Pevington, sir.
To the public as well as to my fellow commissioners, especially Mr. Hewitt, you brought the issues up. This has been an ongoing issue dealing with my department. Being in now 9 weeks and not having a whole long background of what it is, I become educated pretty quickly through Mr. Redden and actually through some of you who've shared your ideas with me. My biggest, the points that he's made in the sense of the system that we have with a hospital-based service, it seems to me to be the premier situation that we could be in. They, as you said, who provided great service for us, have chosen Inspira to take over and to be part of this. So to me, that's a big flag, a positive flag saying we have faith in these individuals. One of my biggest fears is, as he said, if we go up with an RFP at this point and we take the lowest bid, we're now, especially myself, is responsible to say if it folds or leaves, as it's done in some other communities, well, what do the citizens of Millville have? So, that being said, the same amount of money that we've appropriated years past is basically what's on the table to continue with Inspira. I would like a little bit more input with this memorandum of understanding. And again, I'm not sure if there is criteria placed in that now, or is it just an open agreement to have some issues brought in to this contract that some of you individuals may have issues with. One of the points that you had brought up specifically, I believe at our last meeting, was the insurance program that Millville Rescue Squad offered. Well, I had found out, just like you shared, the charitable care will cover that if an individual doesn't have the money to do that. So I feel a little bit better with not having that insurance. In fact, I guess it gets covered with no cost to the
Well,
individual
this is
for charity
the
care.
the subscription program was put in place many years ago, probably 30 years ago, but it started out that it was just for donations to volunteer Millville Rescue Squad.
Which we did.
Well, when we went to a paid system and we had to begin billing fee for service, that's when we converted our mailing fundraiser to a subscription program. And the issue was that Millville Rescue Squad was a nonprofit organization providing just ambulance service, and we're not eligible for charity care. There is no charity care program out there. So that was our form of charity care program,
Okay, that's
$20, $30, $40 a year. That gave us, once you begin accepting Medicare, Medicaid, once you begin accepting federal funds, you have to sign off and agree that you're going to bill every patient for every trip, every time, and make a reasonable effort to collect all monies due. So that means taking up to collections. When you have a subscription program, it allows you to waive those deductibles and copays. So that was our form of a charity care program for an organization that wasn't eligible for charity care. The hospital is under different rules. They do have a charity care program. They showed interest in maintaining the subscription program. I can't speak on behalf of that, but I can say I think there was some legal complications with the model, with the hospital model, and them being allowed to forgive that on the subscription program. Last I heard, they were still looking to see if they could get around it. So it's not 100% off the table, but it's not something they can just do.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner?
Can you step up to the mic?
That's okay.
All the things, your questions, they're great. That's the questions that I have. Putting substance into the MOU. The charity care. The chief answered that real well. There's one thing you need to realize with the charity care. It's going to help some people. It's going to help people on Medicaid. It's going to help people that are retired and have Medicare A and B. It's not going to help me.
It doesn't.
I have the VA and I have Medicare A, B, and D. But I still, when I get carried to that hospital, I'm going to get an average bill of $400 to $500 over the payment that the insurance pays. I don't qualify. I don't believe anybody in this room will qualify for the billing, the extra billing. Because insurances pay a certain amount for everything. Yes, it's going to help a big majority of people in Cumberland County because of the county. Charity care is a good thing. Probably Inspira isn't going to be able to do charity care for the fact, like the chief said, there's legal work. They participate in charity care. The subscription probably won't be available for that reason. My main thing, like chief, you didn't really answer.
Right.
Maybe you can. You asked about substance. Substance in a RFP is call times. Substance in an RFP is meeting call times with fines if not. Substance in an RFP is unit station. Now, I'm going to back down on that. In the beginning, when you guys took over, you didn't have units out there. But yes, they're everywhere. And, I'll be the last person to say, what's a Inspira ambulance doing sitting in the street? I know why they're there. Because they're a soft target. That is
And
a
again,
soft
you're
post
aware of
for
things like
them
that.
so they can get to where they got to get as quick as possible. The thing that will always stick in my mind, and I told the last commission, and I believe you were both here, I live a mile and a half down Cedar Street from the rescue squad. I knew in my mind, if I needed them, they were going to be there pretty quick. All of us here, I think, are probably needed at one time or another, or we will, unfortunately, rescue squad, to 2 weeks ago, when I turned around to Commodore Barry Bridge and cut my trip short and come back home, I really needed an ambulance. The flu was crazy. Squad was busy. I took it upon myself. No, I'm probably actually safer because I got my nitro pills and I got what I need. I know how to handle a heart attack. I've had enough of them. I had my wife take me. Fortunately, I did, because all the ambulances that were available in Millville that night were at Inspira, along with Vineland on a mutual aid call, helping Millville. So I made the right decision not to dial 911 and ask for an ambulance. They're doing a good job. They're out there now. They weren't when we first started this. But, again, if you put it out for RFP, there are places, I'll name them. Bell Plain, they're not fly-by-night organization. Check them out. Call your co-workers, your co-commissioners, councilmen in the townships that have already put them in place, because Millville Rescue Squad doesn't exist anymore. They're doing a good job.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. I appreciate that. We're going to take into account the things that you shared. I'm, again, dealing with this probably over the last month and a half. I'm very comfortable with what I'm hearing from Inspira.
Oh, and they are
for
stepping up.
the city of Millville. My responsibility is basically that. So that being said, as I said before, we're going to look to see what issues that we could bring out or what we can put in beyond the memorandum of understanding. And if you want to make a list of things to give to me to share with them, I'm happy with that. But I want to set this to rest for a year, in that knowing that if things aren't working the way we want to see them, in a year from now we can make those changes. But, and again, I brought him in here. I want us to be as transparent as possible, giving you guys the opportunity to bring your points out. But then we're going to make the decision based on the responsibility that rests on our shoulders.
I realize.
And I hope you understand that. But thank you for your time.
One last thing.
Yes, sir.
It is great. They're there. They're everywhere. One last thing I want you to think of.
What's that, sir?
You go to RFP, Inspire's going to bid it. They're not going to walk away. And if they win it, absolutely great. If they meet an RFP, you're going to set the expectations. An MOU, you're going to go into a meeting and you're going to argue about expectations. It's only what's going to happen.
Okay.
Well,
And if they win the bid, absolutely great.
That's somewhat true, but I mean, we would go in and hash out a contract. If we don't like the terms of the contract, we can always go out to RFP.
And if you go to RFP,
It's called the best alternative to a negotiated agreement. If we go into the MOU conversation and we don't like the way that's going, we can always back out, just like
Right.
they could always walk away.
And that makes me feel
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in. Is that okay?
So you have a
I am
background in
always
this.
hesitant when it comes to emergency services, police, fire. Would you want the police department bid to the lowest bidder, or to the fire department the lowest bidder? When it looks at EMS, to me in general, I understand the idea of it, but when you set an RFP and everybody goes out to bid, as the chief said and laid the scenario out for you, the danger is people come in and they bid on these things not knowing the true realities.
Correct.
And they can always walk away. I see it, I've seen it with EMS, but we see it a whole lot more with construction projects.
Oh, yeah.
Where what you see is you see a bidder come in and they bid the project, they undershoot it to get the thing, and then what we have in that, as you know, what we have in that situation is they have to have a bond. And then we go after the bond company, and the bond company pays, and we're made whole. When it comes to emergency services, we could get stuck hardly. I think that Commissioner's correct in the fact that there is some more fact-finding. I'm working with towns that I work with and towns that I don't work with to put together a chart of some of the things that are part of their contracts and agreements with whoever it is that they contract with on any of these models. And some of these things are going to get put into, if the commission decides to go with a one-year contract for Inspira and an MOU, some of these things are going to go into the MOU now, and some of them are going to go in probably next year. But response times is key. Level of service is key. There are some things that Chief called them out tonight. that are goals of theirs, even before we go ahead and we talk about them, that they're going to commit to, and then, you know, really it'll be September, October, we're going to be having this conversation again, quicker than, I mean, it's going to be a flash. We're going to have this conversation again, and we're going to have 6 months of quantifiable data, and we're going to have, you know, a cross-section of where this fits with other towns and what the current legal status is of these contracts in South Jersey. I think then we're going to be in a real good place to make an informed decision, and that's, you know, that's really where it's at. But that MOU isn't a done deal yet.
Oh,
Yeah.
and that really, truly,
Yeah.
I'm not here complaining about it.
I hear you. I understand.
I'm here asking for what
You want what's best.
you and Commissioner Pepitone just offered.
Great.
And I'm here to finish up by saying, you know what, if it does go out to bid, I can almost guarantee Inspire is going to come in at the lowest bidder, but they're going to be held to everything that's in that contract. That's
Mr.
the-
Hewitt, I want to thank you for your input because it's opened my eyes more to, I guess it's something I've never dealt with before. And so you understand, we're trying to do our due diligence to find the best deal for the people of Millville, but being as safe as possible. So
Tonight-
thank you for the time.
Tonight so far, probably agree, is the most productive night in conversation.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Tim Cardy, Millville. I want to talk about the MOU and clear a couple of things up. Even though if the city of Millville decides not to go with Inspire will still provide paramedic service to Cumberland County and the city of Millville. I'm just going to clear that up because the way I sat there and watched it was hospital-based can do the BLS and the ALS, and I'm just clearing it up that Cumberland County gets all the ALS provided, life support services, done by Inspire Hospital. My next question is, since the Inspire takeover, we got to look at how many times has mutual aid been dispatched to the city of Millville? And then as we looked at the dispatch, how many times have they been recalled? And then we need to really sit and look at how many times has mutual aid taken calls out of the city of Millville because Inspire had ambulances tied up. Now, I know we have 2 dedicated ambulances that the city bought Mobile Rescue Squad and now Inspire has, which is still under city control. So God forbid, if something comes afloat or something goes wrong, we have them 2 ambulances as a backup in case they back out or we back out. And I did a quick check on Shore Memorial Hospital's website. Shore Memorial EMS is still providing EMS service for Northfield and the other municipalities down there.
Is it Northfield and Linwood, I think, are in a shared service agreement?
Yes, with
Okay.
Shore Memorial.
They still are. Yep.
Yes.
I know the 2 of them are together. I couldn't remember who the contractor was.
And they're also doing it for Summers Point.
Okay. What do you like about the Shore Memorial? You know, and this is a conversation I know we had a couple weeks ago.
Right.
What is it that you like about?
The Shore Memorial contract, they're a hospital provider.
Okay.
Okay? They're going to get money no matter if they take you to the hospital or if you're sitting there in ER. As a taxpayer, and I'm going to say it as double dipping as I consider it, you guys are going to give them $105,000, right? So they're going to come to your house, they're going to take you to the hospital, and you're going to receive a bill. So now not only are they getting our taxpayer dollars, now they're getting our own dollars, which to me, you're double dipping my money. I work hard for my money. My tax money is going towards the $105,000, but then they're going to bill me for $800, $1,100, $400, and then if my insurance don't cover it, then I'm going to get that bill. And with the hospital-based EMS, there's Newark has University of Medical and Dentistry doing it, 0. Jersey City, 0.
My guess would be with both of those, the populations.
Well, you got your
probably very
populations,
highly
but
Atlantic
if you're
City.
running, but let's sit here and think about it. The chief said they're running, how many calls? 40,000? 4,000? 4,000 times, let's do an average of $800. What's that give you?
That's speculation, and I don't really want to go there. What I'm looking for, and not to cut you short, is to get the information that you're looking for us to include in this this memorandum to get the best bang for the buck for Millville. It's going to be a year contract. So as our council said, we're going to be open to that later on. If there are issues that you want to include, as opposed, I mean, you could share them here, but I'd rather have them, in a concise way that I could share with him and say, check these out, and then move ahead.
Okay, I got one more thing.
Okay.
The reason we were able to give Millville Rescue Squad $105,000 a year was because they fell under Title 40, Section 40, 5-2, contribution to first aid, ambulance, and rescue squads. It says any county or municipality may make a volunteer contribution of not more than $70,000 annually to any duly incorporated first aid or emergency or volunteer ambulance or rescue association of the county or any municipality therein rendering service, generally through the county. Also, for the $35,000, that would give them the $105,000. In addition, if any of the associations experience extraordinary need, the county or municipality may contribute an additional amount of not more than $35,000 annually, provided, however, that the need for such additional funds is established by the association and is directly related to the performance of said association's duty. Hospital-based EMS does not come under Section 45-2.
For the second part.
For either of them, because they're not a volunteer organization, they're not incorporated first aid.
I'm going to refer that to council, who I'm sure
Okay.
will
But I think if we're going to do an
review it.
MOU,
So the MOU hasn't been done yet. We've inherited an MOU from a prior year, and we haven't signed one yet. We've had now our 5th opportunity for the public to come and speak about it. The public has, and the public has also come and spoken, I know, to commissioners, at other times and provided information. You'll make a decision about this. But this certainly will be taken into consideration.
I'm just saying I think we could do a lot better than $105,000, especially if we're looking at any tax increases.
I hear you.
Thank you
so much.
Ann Chamber, Millville. I'd like to speak about the MOU as well. Not specifically just about the MOU, but the overall. I think a few of you are starting to realize that being a commissioner and being charged with something so specified is a very challenging job. It's not easy, and that's why we have solicitors. One thing I've noticed during this commission is we don't really necessarily care about lowest bid, right? We pick who we choose to be our favorite. We like them for whatever reason. And that's where the responsibility goes back on you and our solicitor to make sure that when you write these RFPs, that they are very detailed as what you're expecting. Oh, I need a bid for service. Well, okay, I'll pave your road for $5, or I'll pave your road for $500,000. And okay, we're going to give it to you $5. No, it matters how your RFPs are written. There's no harm in putting it out to bid. And I'm not saying anything against Inspira. You put out a good request, a detailed request, and require a detailed response and a detailed bid. Then you have, and you don't, clearly we know that you have no problem choosing somebody who's not the lowest bidder. But then you can come to me and tell me, other than a sales pitch, why the next person, while they're better than the next one. Don't just go by what they say, because I can come and tell you I make the best cakes in town, and you have to buy your wedding cake for me because I'm the best.
Can I interrupt? This gentleman who was basically heralded as a phenomenal, hear me out, as a phenomenal director or chief.
Right.
He's the one who said, let's look at this one. So there comes credibility with that.
Oh, I'm completely not saying that. What I'm saying is, how can we be fair? And being that this is, again, by your own admission, new to you and challenging to you, and it's very detailed, how can we be fair to the taxpayers who are facing, what, a 10, 14% increase in taxes this year between the county, the city, and the school taxes?
So you understand the responsibility will rely on my department. So
absolutely.
Just to say I want to go with the lowest bidder, go for an RFP.
I'm not saying the lowest bidder. I'm saying once you have true information from all those who are willing. Who knows? Maybe nobody wants to step up. I don't know. I don't know, and neither do you. And we won't know until we ask for the information. I don't know. I don't know how to be a public safety director. I don't know how to be an attorney. But if I was stuck there, I would study my booty off to find out what's best for the city, to find out how we can save people's lives, and then behind that, how can we save their homes. We can't just throw away money and make decisions without all the information. You don't just pick the first attorney. You don't pick the first house that you shop for. You don't pick the first mortgage just because they're the ones who came in. And I'm not taking any credibility away from Inspira. None. Zero. I am saying let's look at all the options if we have any more options. And the best way to know that is a quality RFP. A quality RFP. Then we can get a quality bid back. And if they don't complete the RFP to what we asked for, then they're not considered. But if this one's saying they can respond in 60 seconds and this one's saying they promise to respond in 2 minutes, well, that waits. There's a wait there, right? That's worth maybe more money. Or this is what I'm saying, quality RFPs, whether it be for Inspira or anything that you're choosing to do, this needs to be done by our commission. They should have done it as well. We need to have quality for anything. If we're giving taxpayer money, it has to go out to bid, and it has to be a quality request. It has to be. You have to request this information detailed, and you have to know, and this is why we have a great attorney to help us do this.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you.
Yeah, so can I say, quality, I agree. Quality takes time to put that RFP together. I would like the time to research. The issue is tonight, though, and over the next weeks and months, as we're doing this research and we're getting it right, 911's getting calls.
Exactly.
We need to make sure that first we have
coverage.
good responses to those calls. At this point, I have not heard, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've not heard that Inspira is falling down on the job when it comes to responding. The calls go out, they get there, they're doing a good job, and they're taking care of their business as far as that. So if that's the case, some of these contracts are 3-year, 5-year contracts. I would not recommend issuing a 5-year contract. Essentially, what I'm recommending to you at this point, based on my conversations and understanding the situation, is essentially a 9-month contract, which we will, in that 9-month contract, take a look at the MOU and add some language that I feel like needs to be in there based on a first-level review of other contracts and what needs to be in there. Then over the next 9 months, we go ahead and we're ready September, October to put out, really August, September, we're ready to put out a good RFP or a contract, basically specs for a contract, so that then at that point we can go ahead and review, and we spend the months of October and November making that decision to give people a transition time from a business sense to make that difference. So, I'm not saying a 5-year or a 3-year, I'm saying a 9-month contract. We're going to punch up this MOU to make sure that it has some specs and some achievable metrics in it. And then you're going to go ahead and look at it over the next 6 months. If for some reason something changes and the quality of service goes down, Commissioner's going to address that immediately. But as long as the quality of service is there, and I understand when you talk about dollars and things and 3 more police officers, but let's also talk about the fact that what's the price of making sure that you've got quality EMS when you call there. The money and the dollars, we'll figure it out.
Thank you. Kim?
Kim Cardy, resident of Millville. So I apologize for kind of running into this late, so if I repeat anything, I apologize. And I want to first say Commissioner Pepitone has graciously entertained a lot of my concerns about this. I think I want to reiterate first that none of these is about the level of care or concern that we're getting from Inspira, but there is a duty that we as you as elected officials have to our community in making sure that the services we receive are procured in a way that's fair and open, that they prescribe to the rules and regulations that are in place today. that we're getting what's fair to us. And unfortunately, we're in this really precarious situation. And I can appreciate what you're saying. There's a transition period here. I don't know that 9 months is necessary. I mean, there's lots of communities doing exactly what we need, and I think we certainly don't have to reinvent the wheel, and we don't have to look far. My issue is not in Spira providing the service. My issue is, why are we paying them $105,000 to do it? Under Title 40, Title 40A, actually, and I forget the rest of the number, but that's where we were given the authority when it was Millville Rescue to give them $70,000 plus an additional $35,000 if the organization could demonstrate extraordinary need. And I think that's the piece that really kind of makes me pause and ask, is that really true? I mean, the benefit now is Inspira being the much larger organization that has the ability to take in that overhead. I think it's really difficult to think in my own head that we could look at that and expect there to be an extraordinary need to have to give the additional $35,000. And I think I have a problem with the $70,000 at this point. They're using 2 of our ambulances, so it's not like we've asked them to do something entirely for free, and our residents are being billed. The membership program, to my understanding, is gone. So if you call 911 and they come pick you up, you're getting a bill. If you're not getting it, your insurance company is getting it. And while it might be a soft billing, I wasn't here, there's still a bill, and there's still the stress of receiving that as a resident. And I understand they're not able to do what Millville Rescue was able to do for us because they're a different organization. But that's the point. They're a different organization now, right? And so I think it would be not doing your own due diligence and not meeting the fiduciary needs of the city to just hand them $105,000 when other communities, and you don't have to look for that, who are getting hospital-based EMS are getting it for $0 contracts. Storm Memorial serves Linwood, Northfield, Summers Point, $0 contract. Monarch is serving a multitude of communities in central and, well, we would call it North Jersey, for $0 contracts. Pleasantville has a $1 contract with a non-hospital-based EMS service, if my memory serves me. So this is where I go to, why does Millville have to pay $105,000 when other communities are getting similar services based out of a hospital for $0 because they get to bill our residents? And that's where I come to, because $105,000 is a lot of money for us, especially given the extraordinary other costs that I think we're discovering as time goes on. And it is nothing against Chief Redden, who I give all the credit in the world for the dedication that he's had to our city. It is nothing about Inspira. I think they're a great community partner, but we need fair services for our citizens, and it's your responsibility to look out for that. So we don't have to we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Inspira can be a great partner. Let them bid on it, and let's do it in a fair and open way so that there's some transparency in the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. We're going to move on. Marcy, I'm sorry.
This is not a contract. It's a MOU, just like we had with the other, with Millville Rescue Squad. My understanding, I brought this question up last year with the other commission, and our past solicitor looked it up, and he said that there was a law that covered us being able to just give them $105,000. It wasn't a contract where we're getting billed monthly. It was the same thing we were doing with Millville Rescue Squad. And I have an email from him that I have to look and try to find, telling me that we were legal in doing that. So I just wanted to bring that up. And the reason we went from $70,000 to $105,000 is because we used to provide gas for them. And we decided instead of providing the gas, we would roll it into the amount that we were giving them every year. I just wanted to give that background.
Thank you for that history, Marcy.
Yep.
Thank you, Marcy. Commissioner Pepitone, you have anything else to report?
Yeah, I just want to say I'm sorry. I apologize to anybody for the amount of time that it has taken. But I think it's important for the citizens to have the opportunity to share what they want to share, their concerns and needs. And I hope you see this as us doing our best to do our due diligence to meet the needs of the city. Again, I'll say the biggest concern that I have is the fact of, I know in Spira, from what Chief Redden has shared, and again, if we have an RFP and we go with another company and they have, for whatever reason, fall through the cracks, there's going to be a big responsibility left to take care of the citizens of Millville. That's my biggest concern. And that's where I'm going to lead. I'm grateful for all the information that you guys have provided so we can actually look into the actual memorandum of understanding to make sure everything's in there that we need to meet the citizens. So again, I know it's taken a while. I'm grateful for the information that you guys have given us, and I think we're going to move ahead at be in a better place when it's all said and done. So I want to say thank you to all of you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Discussion of commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll take it. Let's change gears here and go to the ball field, shall we? All right, so in the Parks and Public Buildings Department, what we've done lately, just to give you an update, we replaced all broken home plates. We're getting ready for baseball, folks. Base receptacles, pitching rubbers on the city fields. We're preparing for the spring season. All right, we've also cleaned up a lot of brush in Waltman Park and Corson Park. I want to thank you to Streets and Roads for assisting in that teamwork effort. Also poured a new sidewalk on Cates Boulevard in front of the ball fields. 2 events we have coming up, just want to talk about right now. We have on March 21st, the first RVC meeting. Please join us here on March 21st at 6 p.m. right here in the chambers. We need you. Second, we have the annual Easter egg hunt coming up at Union Lake. Make sure to be there at 11 a.m. sharp. All the eggs will be picked up, so you won't have to hear anything about that. All the eggs will be gone. And Holly City Striders every Tuesday and Thursday. The walking club meets at Lakeside from 6:30 to 4.
Thank you.
You can come in costume if you like. It's a fun event.
You referring that to the mayor?
Only if you are, Cooper.
I meant that for me, Mr. Mayor. But if you want to join me, okay. That's all for my department. Move to receive and file.
Thank you. Commissioner Pepitone.
You sure you want to give it to me? First of all, Philadelphia has Hurricane Schwartz. We have weatherman Sherman Taylor. And to answer your question, he's telling me we're going to probably have about a half an inch of snow to maybe just rain. That was the latest thing that came in at noon. And I think there's an update at 5 o'clock. I didn't get it from him. But I don't think we're going to have a snow problem. He also said, though, weather being as it is, it could be 37 feet of snow. So he has to be right. So we have a wide range of what he's going to predict.
That's a big range.
Another thing that I want to share with him, I'm going to read real quick. It's a small paragraph. Once again, Millville OEM is partnering with our local officials and departments to make Millville's schools a safer place for our children and our staff. OEM police officers, school resource officers, and school crisis management officials have been going to 2 schools a day to help the principals and staff recognize deficiencies, if any, and where each school can consider hardening their building security and ways to better prepare the staff and students in case or an event of an emergency. They're going to present to Dr. Gentile on Friday their findings, and I'm glad to see that they're really involved in our school system. Again, it's showing the municipality and school systems working together. I have a report from the chief. We had 1,697 incidences and 189 total arrests. Was the highest in the county for new charges with arrests. Good or bad, I guess we're taking care of the problems that we have. And finally, the fire chief gave me an organizational chart and the things that they're doing, and I want to have this received and filed. One other question. There's a walk-on motion. Do I discuss that now?
Yeah, this would be a good time if you have something to add to the regular agenda.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's going to be a move in the police department to move from 2 captains back to 1 captain with the addition of a lieutenant position being restored.
Okay.
I don't know if we have the actual language for that. We could work on it, but we need to move on that this evening. Any questions
Was that by
from commissioners?
ordinance?
That's ordinance.
Ordinance on first reading? So an
Yeah, I mean,
This is
it's-
first
there is
reading
an
tonight?
ordinance.
Is that for the
I
20th?
was, this is the first I'm aware of it,
Right.
and I can get it.
ordinance
I mean,
on
it is
first
by
reading.
ordinance.
Time is of the essence,
Okay.
and
It has to be by ordinance, though, right?
It is an
Right.
ordinance, it's not a
Absolutely. It is an
resolution,
ordinance.
yeah.
It would have to be by ordinance.
Go to the 30th, or, yeah, the 30th, 20th. 20th.
I'll
And
write
it's
it up
5
between the work
lieutenants?
session and the regular session. We got
Okay.
10
Oh, wait.
minutes. Right.
Okay.
Is it 5 lieutenants, Commissioner?
I'm sorry?
It's 5 lieutenants or 6 lieutenants now?
We're going to basically reverse what was done last year.
Okay.
So-
Another lieutenant position added, a captain position removed.
I think you still remain at the same number.
Same number of officers, it's just
Correct.
switching, it's one power, I can see it on the ordinance where it is.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, so we're going to put that ordinance on, add it on this week?
Yes, we did.
For this evening.
We can do that at halftime, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else, Commissioner?
That's it.
Halftime's getting
Well,
short.
okay,
Go
so
ahead.
he moved to receive and file all these reports, so do you wanna,
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
okay,
How's that?
All right, I'm not talking anymore.
That's how to cut him off. Second motion.
roll call.
Any comments on this? Roll call.
Commissioner Pepitone?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parent?
Yes.
Commissioner Udalvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper?
Yes.
Mayor Santiago?
Yes. Commissioner Pepitone, you're full of all kind of surprises tonight.
Oh, I'm telling you. We're trying to
Commissioner
catch up with a
Udalvis.
lot of them.
Mr. Mayor, I have no report or discussion at this time.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we'll be introducing our budget at our next meeting, the 20th. So once again, to all the commissioners, please review them, and we're pleased to put it together and hope that we can stabilize taxes as much as we can. It's a great effort, and we're anxious to introduce it. So, progress, Mayor.
Thank you. I'd like for this report from Streets and Roads to be received and filed. Streets and Roads for the February through March 3rd did 95 street sweepings violations that were written. 287 tires were collected, 846 potholes filled, and I know there's a lot more out there. 80 tons of brush was collected. 2,446 bags of loose leaves were collected. The retention pond on the Bogdan Boulevard was cut and cleaned. Road repair on Lendon Street completed. Flooding issues on Isabel Avenue repaired. And flooding issues on Overbrook Coombs Road were also repaired. They basically were blockage with overflow of the basins in both scenarios. Streets and Roads had 4 trees that were down. They were cut, hauled away during the nor'easter that we had back on March the 2nd, which was last Friday. And we're currently watching another potential storm, which is tomorrow. Hopefully it does not hit us. So let's hope and pray that we don't get that. In addition to that, last week I had the opportunity on Friday, on March 2nd, I had the opportunity to go to an event which was the Sock Hop by M25, the homeless program that we have throughout the county, and it was a great event. It was sold out. It was a great evening, and though it was cold and windy and there was some snow, those people who truly are supporters of the program and volunteers came out. And the nice thing about it is that our own Cindy Stanger, what's the last? She has another name. Cook.
Yes.
I was going to say Cindy Cook. Thank you, Mary. She received an award for her volunteerism that she does for the city of Millville. Let me tell you something. That lady goes all out. And I probably won't say this, but she probably also did the most donation during that evening. She is fantastic, is exactly the person that we need in the city of Millville to head a program like this for our homeless. So, Cindy, if you're watching me, congratulations, and I think she deserves a round of applause from all of us. So thank you. And with that,
You want your, Mr. Mayor, move your report be received
Yes.
and filed.
Streets and Roads.
Streets and Roads report.
Second.
Any comments? Roll call. Thank you, Mary.
Okay, Commissioner Pepitone?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parent?
Yes.
Commissioner Udalvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper?
Yes.
Mayor Santiago?
Yes. Can we go right into new business, please?
But I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure you received and filed.
We didn't take a roll on yours, so let's do that.
Again? We did this two meetings
He
in a
moved.
row.
I need a second.
No,
for-
just
Second.
Second.
I know, right? You missed
Any
it.
comments? No. Roll call on Commissioner Cooper's
I think
Report.
Udalvis. Okay,
Report.
Commissioner Pepitone?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perrin?
Yes.
Commissioner Udalvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper?
Yes.
Mayor Santiago?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
New business, please.
No new business, Mayor.
All right. We've now opened a meeting for public comments. Anyone that would like to address the commission, please go to the podium, state your name, and address your concerns, and please limit your comments to 5 minutes. Seeing no one, I close the public portion of comments. Comments of commissioners. Commissioner Cooper.
No comment, thank you, sir.
Commissioner Pepitone.
In the sake of time, no comment.
Commissioner Hidalgo.
No comment, Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor.
No comment, Mr. Mayor.
No comments on me. Thank you for coming. I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.